The song Kufi Arabia, which means the Kufi is Arab, and let me say that is my work with Low Key and Shadia that has really helped define a lot of the international work that I'm doing now. And thank you to Nancy who's sitting in the back room, and anybody who doesn't know about Low Key, who has released the song Abomination Part 2 and Abomination Part 1, and anybody who knows that he has been in a huge struggle with the government of Great Britain for his rights. Knows that we have to fight to defend his rights right now more than ever because he's under fire, and we're yet to see what the results of his resistance to oppression is. He's a fighter. He's a fighter who they are putting on trial, who have put on trial for being a resistor. So if you don't know about Low Key, know about Low Key, and I also salute Nancy in the back of him. So that's some of the international stuff. So Low Key and Shadi. Okay.
All right, show me here, and then we'll come through one right front.
All right. I want to speak in defense of Nicki Minaj.
Oh, there you are. All right.
Let me take first. The criticisms of Nicki Minaj that have come out from the panel so far. And one, you're criticizing the image that she portrays. I mean, granted. Umi, you were taking on, you're questioning a woman who was in the car listening to Nicki Minaj, and you're like, what's up with this, right? You know what she's about. And the doctor, you were saying that...
I never said Nicki Minaj.
No, but you were saying...
I try not to specify.
Representations of females in hip-hop is impacting female sexuality.
That's right.
Right? But out of all three criticisms, what was left out was boys and men. And in the sense that, gender is about gender relations, right? And I think progressive men in hip-hop should do less criticizing of women in hip-hop rather than starting to deconstruct their own masculinity within hip-hop culture. I think we should focus less on criticizing women that we may consider as progressive men to be putting out a negative image. And we should do more focus on questioning our own selves and our own roles in hip-hop and about taking on boys, boys and sexual relations. And
hold on, say that again one more time. Say that again one more time. You said we should do more. I just want to get it clear.
As progressive men in hip hop, we should do less questioning of women in hip hop that we might consider to be putting out a negative image, such as Nicki Minaj, and more questioning of ourselves and our fellow men within hip hop, men and boys, and start deconstructing some of our masculinity that we have in hip hop culture. That's where our focus should be. I think the women can take care of the Nicki Minaj.
Can I just say, and I disagree totally. And I want to say it because it's important. This is a very important conversation. And it's based on the grounding of the separation. There's no separation in this hip hop thing. And actually, we need more women to come to the forefront, period. And it's not about making a personal attack on Nicki Minaj because she's a woman. It's about calling right and wrong, period. Now, if I don't want I have two nieces that are they're what? They're 13 and 11. Now this is why I can critique Nicki Minaj with the utmost negative, whatever I want to say, disrespect, because all I'm doing is showing what she presents to the world. And now I don't want my 11-year-old girl or my 13-year-old girl to have nothing to do with Nicki Minaj. It's important to me that, and the reason why it's important because Nicki Minaj, because she's a woman, she represents women, the mother of our shit, of our whole shit. Like, that's what the woman is. So it's it's like going into the household as a father, and you got a daughter and a son, and you're ignoring your daughter's movements, especially as it relates to sexuality and development, but you're spending all your energy with your son. It's unproductive for your family. It's unproductive for your family. No matter if you even got a mother in the household or whatever, I'm talking about as the father. It's very unproductive. So you got to look at hip-hop like that as well. This is not a situation where you got women over here, men over here. Right? Nah, this is, and it's being manipulated to the point where it's become this masculine bullshit and da-da-da-da. But that's the art of the world. Now, what we're talking about is a woman that's actively taking a position to represent women in hip-hop. It is my job as a politically informed black man to tell my black children that when I see them, what they shouldn't be attracted to. It's my job to do that. In terms of what I can control and what I see is right and wrong. Because I'm just me, my opinion. But it's very important that I voice my opinion as it relates to the sexuality of that young girl. Because that's going to control my future, my community. Because without her having that proper knowledge, she's going to fuck up the kid that she brings up. She's going to fuck up the next motherfucker she sleep with. And it's a cycle that's never ever addressed. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about being negative to her about because whatever. It's about us being active leaders and taking accountability to what happens when someone listens to negative lyrics or see some bullshit based on, like even with Nicki. Did you know all her shit is fake? Like her ass to her nose to her titties? I'm just saying, no. It's important that we talk about that as my daughter, as my niece might not have developed titties. And she might be like looking at Nicki, and I gotta go into that and be like, look, baby, it's not about those titties. It's not. I mean, I'm just telling you, like, that's how deep this goes. Like, it is important that we don't sell ourselves short because we're trying to be correct or whatever.
But I don't think it's either or.
Right.
I think
It's not.
both. I think it's both. I think you can say these images are not positive images and these are not the images that we want our kids, our females to see,
For sure.
or our males to see.
For sure.
And I also think that when we talk about the power and using sort of the platform and having a different conversation about masculinity and what masculinity is. So I think you can do both. And when you talk about the idea of sexuality, I think that it's sending the wrong message to both genders at a young age when they're extremely confused. So we're seeing much more sex, but we're not having conversations about what sex means or all the components that you know sort of go hand in hand with that. So I don't see it as either or. I think it's got to be.
And you're right. But one last thing I wanted to say. One last thing is, Nicki Minaj just doesn't affect the young girls either. She has a big influence on the young men too. Like I mean,
Yeah.
just
That's what it's saying. See, I want to like, because I really do like kind of want to take in where you're coming from because I want to be sharper. And I think what you're trying to do is sharpen our understanding about how we correctly lay a criticism so that it goes the right way, or even understand how not to shut up when it's time to. And I understand that, and that doesn't matter. So I do listen to you carefully, and I do think that more so than what you're saying is like not to say something which is about stuff, which is I think what people have talked about so far. I think you're thinking about is when to say something, and more than that, what I get from it, the crux of what you're saying is how to empower women and how to empower women to correct. And how to let women empower women, and which is important because that is very important in this time.
Yeah, definitely.
And but I like to say this: if not, then on the converse, if not us, then only women get to criticize Nicki Minaj. And if that's the case, then I think that I revert back to what they're saying. It's not one or the other. It's not. I don't think the job of bringing to light the contradiction of what Nicki means, and it's not just because, and I don't even want to dissect her, how fake she is, because that was before now. Like, who she is in her body is not. I just want to say the representation. You know what I mean? You can be fake as a fire drill if you want to. I'm just saying who you represent to women. Who you represent to women. And so I think it's right. I think it's the job for men to support women. And women's right to do a criticism. You know what I mean? I think it's time for men to step out of the way and let women lead in the criticism. I think you're right, but I don't think that I should not have a criticism. I don't think I should not have it.
All right, this young lady.
Wait,
here-
hold on. Hey, hold on. Hey,
I know, I'm just saying. I'm waiting for. I have. Please, I just want to get this out. I just really want to get this out. I know, I'm sorry, bro. I gotta get this out. We've been talking so. I'm sorry. We've been talking so much about. I mean, in terms of like problem, where it lies, and how do we solve this? At the end of the day, like, all right.
I just gotta say what happened. I just want to say what happened is that they had their hand up and you went before them, and that kind of defeated this conversation about sex.
I will tell you. All right, so this is a challenge. Everybody has had their hand up at the same time. From the first question, all of you guys have their hands up. So I'm trying to distribute it as equally as I can. Now, what I've done is favor this side of the room. But I'm coming back to you, my brother. Trust me, just a little patient. We got a few more minutes. That brother there has had his hand up. These young ladies, so I'm just trying to be as fair as possible. So I'm going male, female, this young man as well. So go ahead, and I promise I'm gonna come back to you.
Hi, my name is Elisa, and hi, and so I guess this conversation about Nicki Minaj, you can't really look at it in a hip hop vacuum. Like to me, Nicki Minaj is the same as Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Britney Spears. You know, it's not something that's only in the hip hop community. And but you know, this idea of women need to come to the forefront, female MCs need to come up and whatever, and they need to be representing this viewpoint of conscious women. However, I think that if you look at hip hop now, it's very collaborative in the sense that, you know, people are putting on their friends, you know, producers work with other artists, artists work with artists that are super male dominated. And I think that the reason you see Nicki Minaj and you see like other women sort of present themselves in a certain way is because that's the only space for them to come up. And I'm wondering about you guys as people with voices, as people